Queen Sylvie of the multiple award-winning The Queen Sylvie Show. You want to expand and get noticed? Then come outside your box and into our world. Internet advertising has a real impact on global awareness and even sales, so let's make an impact together. Offering for a limited time advertising and sponsorship packages that excel your purpose. So contact Queen Sylvie or Smooth Tim for the exciting opportunities that awaits. Yeah.
Are you tired of driving around a dirty car? Say hello to the ultimate solution for your car. Quick Auto Detail, home, work, or wherever. Their mobile car spa will clean and shine your car anytime and anywhere. Their products are gentle on your car's paint, and they use only the highest quality materials. Book your appointment now.
Hey kids, how would you like to hear this on the screen instead of the great show you came to see? That's what you sound like. Honest. Please cooperate and do your part in keeping this theater quiet so everyone, including you, can enjoy it. Remember, lots of adults and kids, too, paid admission to enjoy the show. We must insist on absolute quiet.
As far as temperament, I think I have a great temperament. I built a phenomenal business with incredible, iconic assets. I've had tremendous success with #1 bestsellers all over the place and everything else I've done. But I will tell you this, what I am far and away greater than an entertainer is a businessman. And that, believe me, my temperament is very good, very calm.
You are a blabbermouth! A blabbermouth! You! Blabbermouth! Out! Out! Blabbermouth!
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's rock.
Hey, it is Smooth Tim, and good evening, America, and the rest of the world. How the hell are you doing? Hey, I really appreciate you coming and spending another hump day with me on Tim's Tidbits. And to those of you from last week's show in Australia, France, Ireland, Africa, Poland, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Mexico, and Germany. Hey, folks, thank you so very, very much for tuning on in. It is sincerely appreciated. Yes, it is. Thank you. Anyhow, hey, there's still all kinds of things going on around the world before we get into tonight's show. I haven't kept up with what's going on with Kim Jong-un and the South Koreans, but I do know that Kim was nice enough to send 10,000 of his troops over to Russia to help out with that situation. So you now have 10,000 North Korean soldiers helping out the Russians stomp out whatever was wrong with Ukraine to begin with. I'm not quite sure, but yeah. Anyhow, yeah, and in Israel, Gaza, with the what's going on there, it looks like maybe the Hamas leaders might want to have a ceasefire talk, see if they can get some things settled out. There's been enough travesty and enough death over there. That's ridiculous, too. All that needs to get straightened out. There are all kinds of chaos going on around the world. We just all need to chill the hell out. Seriously, we do. Anyhow, hey, a few days ago, Trump held himself a MAGA racist rally, I guess you'd call it, in Madison Square Garden, New York. the town he's kicked out of, but I guess he still calls it his hometown. I don't even know if he has any assets there. I think all his assets got taken up with the fraud on his tax returns. I'm not sure, but anyhow, he was in New York, and he held a fascist MAGA rally in Madison Square Gardens. And let's take a clip of just some of the entertainers, let's call them, that was there supporting Trump.
It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, you know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. Again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody. This isn't exactly a perfect comedy setup. There's some people here. All right. Very good. It's absolutely wild to see. And in Texas, stuff is really, really crazy. We're right there by a wide open border. Where are my proud Latinos at tonight? You guys see what I mean? It's wide open. There's so many of them. It's absolutely incredible. Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country. Republicans are the party with a good sense of humor.
10 days from now, to look in the eye to America with a straight face, it's going to be pretty hard to look at us and say, you know what? Kamala Harris, she got 85 million votes because she's just so impressive. As the first Samoan, Malaysian, low IQ, former California prosecutor ever to be elected president, it was just a groundswell of popular support. And anyone who thinks otherwise is just a freak or a criminal.
And today, this is Donald Trump's house, brother. You know something, Trump maniacs? I don't see no stinking Nazis in here. I don't see no stinking domestic terrorists in here. The only thing I see in here are a bunch of hard-working men and women that are real Americans, brother.
Wow. So there gives an idea of some of the keynote speakers that were at the Trump rally at Madison Square Gardens. It was so nice to hear, the defamation of the Latino population by the so-called comedian. And what's interesting is the Latino or Puerto Rican response to this comedian's message.
We are Puerto Ricans, and we are Americans. But Donald Trump doesn't see us that way. We remember what he did to us after Hurricane Maria. We were dying by the thousands while he threw paper towels at us like we were a joke. Because he thinks we are garbage.
I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
We are not your punchline. We know who we are. We are proud Americans, proud Puerto Ricans. And we see who you are. You are a racist. You are a liar. You are the one that is garbage. And we know where real garbage belongs. In the trash.
So there you have it. The Puerto Rican response to the Madison Square Garden statements from the Trump rally. Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, he went after, and he made some comment also, that comedian, about black people carving watermelons instead of pumpkins for Halloween. I mean, it was just ridiculous. ridiculous. A whole lot of ethnic hating going around, and everybody there just applauding. That's the sad thing. These people just don't see it. But what we should see coming, and if you haven't already, is there's all kinds of disparaging information coming out there about what's going to happen with the upcoming election. Trump has already said, well, I'll accept it if I win. But, otherwise, it's probably illegitimate and there was some type of fraud. So he's already starting to set this up. So this is kind of a repeat. If you remember what happened on election night 2020, prepare for a repeat of this exact same scenario coming up here, election night in less than 6 days.
There's a dirty Trump trick you need to look out for. He used it in 2020 to try to overturn the election, and he's going to do it again. But it doesn't work if you know it's coming. Watch out for Trump to exploit something elections experts call the red mirage, to prematurely declare victory before all the votes are counted. You see, in almost every election, Republicans appear to take an early lead. That's the red mirage. Then that lead gets smaller throughout the night, which is called the blue shift. This happens because Republican votes tend to be counted before Democratic votes. It's not magic. Votes are counted by precinct, and Democrats tend to live in more densely populated urban precincts, while Republicans tend to live in more sparsely populated rural ones. It just takes longer to count the votes in a precinct with a lot of people than in a precinct with fewer people. In Georgia, for example, there are more than 300 times as many people living in Fulton County as in deep red Glasscock County. If Fulton County has 300 times as many ballots to count as Glasscock, obviously Glasscock is going to finish counting first. In 2020, when numbers came in from counties like Glasscock first, it made it look like Trump was leading in Georgia when he really was not. It was a red mirage. Also, Democrats are more likely to vote by mail, and mail-in votes take longer to count. Anyone who follows elections knows about the red mirage and the blue shift, as the former political director of Fox News has testified.
So in every election, certainly a national election, you expect to see the Republican with a lead, but it's not really a lead.
So this red mirage, that's really what you expected to happen on election night.
Happens every time.
But in 2020, Trump pretended the blue shift was surprising and suspicious.
We were winning in all the key locations by a lot, actually. And then our numbers started miraculously getting whittled away in secret.
No, there was nothing miraculous or secret about it. But it's easy to see why people who don't know about the red mirage could be tricked into thinking that something unusual had happened. According to Trump ally Steve Bannon, that's exactly what Trump was counting on.
And what Trump's going to do is just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory. But that doesn't mean he's the winner. He's just going to say he's the winner. The Democrats, more of our people vote early that count. Theirs vote in mail. And so they're going to have a natural disadvantage, and Trump's going to take advantage of it. That's our strategy. He's going to declare himself a winner.
Bannon said that in October of 2020, before the election. And that's just what Trump did on election night.
We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
Trump's nonsense claim that the votes counted earlier in the night were more legitimate than those counted later became the underpinning of the entire big lie, culminating in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. The 2024 election will be close, and early in the night, Trump is likely to appear to be ahead and again use that early lead to falsely claim victory. Mirages can be confusing, but if you know what they are, you won't be fooled by them. Please, help spread the word about the red mirage so people know exactly what to expect on election night.
Well, there you go, folks. And yeah, it'll be exactly a repeat because what the man was saying made perfect sense. That your rural areas are going to be more populated with the Republican vote. It's going to get counted quicker, obviously, than when you're in a densely populated urban area. And it's going to appear that one person is ahead of the other until the majority of the actual votes get counted. So keep an eye out on that, and let me know if I'm right that on election night Trump doesn't come out and declare himself the winner before the election is actually over. It's coming. Anyhow, and speaking of, the MAGA ideal of trying to keep control over the election, they are actually even having, poll watchers who have been trained to go in there and possibly be, an inside threat to the integrity of the election. Check us out and you make your decision on this particular thing.
Most of the Capitol rioters on January 6, 2021 have not been arrested. Thousands of them have had nearly 46 months to regroup for what law enforcement fears will be their next target, November 5th. But authorities have also had time to prepare for the insider threat. Election deniers infiltrating polling places across the country, volunteering to help, while some may secretly be working to undermine American democracy.
What I do well is I promote the gospel of the 2020 election was stolen.
At a West Suburban Geneva country club in September, Captain K took the mic. In this video, recorded by the group Three-Headed Eagle Alliance, retired Army Captain Seth Keschel claimed voter fraud was rampant in Illinois in 2020, explaining why now there's a need for Election Day volunteers to fix the problem.
If you guys want to fix elections, you can start right here in Kane County. We got plenty of influencers. We don't have enough middle managers, and we definitely don't have enough infantrymen.
Keschel declining our request for an interview, but tells us poll watchers are needed to prevent fraudulent practices at polling locations, and that he has never suggested the use of violence in dealing with the problems related to our elections. Despite federal election officials saying 2020 was the most secure election in history, the big lie that it was stolen is festering. One poll last year found 3 in 10 Americans still believe that Joe Biden only won the presidency because of voter fraud. Authorities say in some instances that skepticism has led to the planting of volunteers with corrupt motives.
This is by far the most dynamic threat environment and the craziest operating environment election officials have ever dealt with.
And that's where former Cook County election official Noah Prates comes in, counseling officials coast to coast on threats from the inside.
If you thought your democracy was being stolen from you, you'd use every lever of power you could to peek under the hood.
Federal authorities have officially labeled it the insider threat, an individual or group who uses their authorized access or special knowledge to cause harm, including malicious acts that impact the security and integrity of election systems and information. Those individuals including poll workers, watchers, and election judges who may have ulterior motives.
We're worried about Election Day.
That insider threat is on the mind of Kane County Clerk John Cunningham.
They tried the last election. They sent a lot of, that group, one of the groups sent in a lot of poll watchers that tried to, now they're trying to become judges. So we got to watch for that.
Kane is one of many Illinois counties that election deniers, including Captain K, point to alleging vote fraud. Cunningham says he's tried to show them the real evidence.
Some of them will listen. Some of them have got their mind made up so much that if God came down, they wouldn't change their mind on it.
The Three-Headed Eagle Alliance is the group that hosted Captain K and has been recruiting poll workers. In a statement, organization officials say they are a nonpartisan organization. However, most of their events deliver pro-Trump messages, some from election deniers.
We have cameras at every aspect of it.
Kane County has invested in security. These cameras keep an eye on the path of every single vote coming in and the actions of both Republican judges required to wear red vests, Democrat judges in blue. In addition, sheriff's deputies will be patrolling all polling places in Kane County. But Cunningham's greatest resource, other poll workers and election judges who know the law.
We've got a bank of judges that have been here for years.
The more skeptical people are, the better it is to have them at the table, actually checking in voters, counting the ballots, running the audits so that they can validate that our democracy is on the up and up.
There it is. So yeah, it's going to be real interesting. I mean, where was that, in Washington and Oregon, I guess. Yeah, they had 2 ballot bins for early voting, you know, drop-in, mail-in voting, and had those catch on fire. Had a poll worker, I'm not sure where that was at. I think that might have been in Texas. Some guy was in wearing a MAGA hat. And they said, well, you can't wear any type of campaign hats, T-shirts, blah, 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 into a voting location. And he didn't like that and punched the poll worker. So it's going to get interesting. Now that you have these other people out there, you know, supposedly, you know, making sure that the election is safe and secure, and they actually have some, you know, possible alternative motives. So it's going to be real interesting, and it is already interesting, and it isn't even election day yet. As I said, what is it, 6 days out, right? 6 days out, and they already have been tying this up in court. What do I mean? Check it out.
I will tell you, as the lead federal government agency for election infrastructure security, I've traveled the country meeting with election officials of both parties. And they work tirelessly every day to ensure that every one of their citizens' votes are counted as cast. It's why I have such confidence and why I can say election infrastructure has never been more secure.
Hi again, everyone. Those are the facts. A message of confidence from Jen Easterly, whose job it is to protect our election systems from fraud and from interference, stressing to all voters, especially ones who have been fed a constant stream of lies about the election for years now, that their votes will be counted and the results will be free from fraud and accurate. We are just 12 days out from the first presidential election post Donald Trump's big lie about voter fraud in the 2020 election. And the ex-president and his allies have already begun laying the foundation to contest the results of this election. It's been going on for a long time, spreading falsehood after falsehood about the security of our elections and flooding the zone with legal challenges to this election result. According to our friend, election rights attorney Mark Elias, there are 196 active voting and election cases pending in 40 states right now. NBC News reports about these brought by Republicans. Quote, many suits have sought to purge voter rolls or bolster signature and voter ID requirements or invalidate ballots that don't meet them, while others have looked to revamp different aspects of election administration, including reducing the use of ballot drop boxes and instituting unusual vote counting protocols, like requiring that ballots be counted by hand. But as Danielle Lang, the senior director at the Campaign Legal Center, a nonpartisan voting watchdog group, points out, Republicans don't even need to win these suits to do harm. She says this, quote, what we are seeing now that is really troubling is a set of lawsuits being filed so very close to an election that are trying to change the rules of the road in a way that would disenfranchise voters. A lot of this litigation is, quite frankly, not designed to succeed. It's just designed to create confusion and chaos, she added. It will be during this confusion and chaos when the ex-president and his allies will be able to do the most damage to our democracy and to faith in our elections. But Vice President Kamala Harris told our colleague Hallie Jackson that she's ready to take on whatever comes.
Well, let me say this. We've got 2 weeks to go, and I'm very much grounded in the present in terms of the task at hand, and we will deal with election night and the days after as they come, and we have the resources and the expertise and the focus on that as well.
So you have teams ready to go? Is that what you're saying? Are you thinking about that as a possibility?
Of course. This is a person, Donald Trump, who tried to undo a free and fair election, who still denies the will of the people, who incited a violent mob to attack the United States Capitol, and 140 law enforcement officers were attacked. Some were killed. This is a serious matter.
What the first thing we are seeing, which we have talked about for some time, Nicole, you and I, is a mass effort by Republicans to flood the courts with frivolous litigation, to try to sow chaos. But let's be clear, Though there have been a record number of lawsuits filed, though there have been a record number of lawsuits by Republicans filed, they have also suffered a record number of defeats. Just yesterday, they lost a case in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. They lost a case in the Georgia Supreme Court the day before that. The day before that, they lost a case in Michigan. They lost a case last week in Nevada. Their allies lost 3 cases last week in Nevada. They have lost cases throughout this country at an extraordinarily fast clip, and it is proof that the courts are holding. So I worry about to answer your question, I worry about first and foremost that they create a sense of disorder and chaos and threat where people should have confidence in their ability to vote and that their votes will be counted.
Damn straight. Yeah. And look what's happening. Look at the first couple of clips that I just showed you about how they're training people to come in, and they're already promoting, that there's fraud going on. What did he say? Almost 200 cases going through the various courts, that there's some type of problem with their voter rolls and or the way they vote, or they should be hand counted, not machine counted. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. And, and when we go back to the first clip and you look at the MAGA rally and you look at the size of that crowd, you're like, my God, how can that many people be on board with that kind of a outlook about, let's just call them non-whites? Because, let's call it exactly what it is, and can be so, demeaning to other cultures and the things they talk about. And all part of this is, a divide and conquer. You get a nation divided is a whole lot easier to conquer than a nation united. And that's all part of the Trump plan. Check it out. I'm telling you, people.
Donald Trump is using a classic divide and conquer strategy to gain and maintain power. Here's how it works. The strategy of divide and conquer is as old as conflict itself. Basically, it says that if you want to conquer a group of people, you don't want to fight them head on like you're freaking Neo. Instead, you want to create division and distrust within that group. The goal is to separate the enemy into factions that are not strong enough on their own. For example, if you don't want the media and the public to unite against you, you can turn them against each other by calling the media fake news and an enemy of the American people. Some people will agree, some won't, but the point is that everyone will be forced to pick a side. And no matter which side they pick, the result is a fractured environment that only benefits one person. You can see this strategy at work in some of Trump's cabinet picks. He picked a guy who doesn't believe humans are the main cause of climate change to lead the EPA. Now the EPA is fractured and cannot unite against him. He picked a woman with no background in education to lead the Department of Education. Now that department is fractured and cannot unite against him. Even in his own inner circle, Trump surrounds himself with people who constantly fight with each other. He has reportedly said that this is to prevent any single aide from gaining too much power. As a bonus for Trump, this divide and conquer strategy gives his base an eternal enemy to fight against. As long as Trump keeps his base distracted with conflict, they won't notice how badly he is screwing them. Remember, the biggest threat to authoritarianism is unity. Ultimately, we're all in the same boat, so don't let yourself get labeled and separated into a category. No group is 100% good or 100% bad. Guys, we live in a country where Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart can coexist peacefully. Surely we can get along with each other. Only one person benefits from a divided country, and it's not you or me.
Amen. So, hey, all I can say is unite for what's right. And just search your soul instead of, listening to some of the rhetoric that's getting fed down your way because, wow. It's going to be interesting. One of the other things I think is interesting, and we're going to cover two of the, campaign stances of the Republicans. And one of the stances is that you want to implement a mass deportation program. And we've talked a little bit about that. That's going to cost, billions and billions of dollars. It's going to take up a whole lot of resources. And he's actually kind of really going back on history when he talks about utilizing mass deportation. He quotes about how Eisenhower utilized this tool to, I guess, his advantage, but it was actually to his disadvantage. You check out this clip so that you get an understanding of how they want to model the next mass deportation program should Don get elected.
The Republican platform promises to launch the largest deportation operation in the history of our country. Even larger than that of President Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Every 30 seconds, a so-called Mexican wetback enters this country illegally. The number is increasing.
In California's rich Imperial and Coachella valleys, guards round up Mexican workers without identity cards and start them on the road back home.
In 1954, the U.S. government deported massive numbers of undocumented Mexican laborers, most of whom were working on farms near the border.
These people were just rounded up, put on trucks and buses, driven over the border, dumped on the other side, sometimes in the desert. In one case, 88 people died from sunstroke, and more would have died had the Mexican Red Cross not come to their rescue.
According to Professor Nye, the mass deportation operation lasted about a year. It became expensive to maintain, and American agriculture growers had begun to comply with a federal program to hire Mexican workers legally, leading them to use fewer undocumented laborers. At the time, the Eisenhower administration said it carried out over 1 million deportations, but historians now believe many people were deported more than once and that the real number of people is significantly less. 2 historians told us that some U.S. citizens were mistakenly deported as well. Tom Homan was acting director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement during the first 2 years of the Trump administration. We asked him about the connection between Trump's campaign pledge and Eisenhower's operation at the border.
You know, former President Trump said that this plan would follow the Eisenhower model, that it would follow so-called Operation Wetback.
I don't speak for President Trump, and I don't know what the Eisenhower plan even is.
The historians that we spoke to call it a civil rights disaster. People were deported in dangerous conditions, and some people died. If President Trump is saying that that's the model, that gives a lot of people
President
pause.
Trump's not talking about. Look, I know this man. There ain't no
Following
way.
the Eisenhower model,
way.
we will carry out the largest domestic
But that
deportation
doesn't
operation in
mean
American
people are
history.
going to die.
Okay.
That doesn't mean civil rights are going to be violated. President Trump doesn't mean that.
But you could understand how someone might
Well, he could
think
say
that,
he's
fear that?
Eisenhower plan was a massive deportation, but it doesn't mean all the negative things that happened are going to happen under his leadership.
You look back in the 1950s, you look back at the Eisenhower administration, take a look at what they did, and it worked.
No, it didn't. People died. It didn't work. And it cost the taxpayers how much money, and they ended up stopping it because it was so expensive and difficult to be able to, reach the objective of deporting all these illegal immigrants. Amazing. That's going to cost us a fortune if they would carry out a plan like that. I would love to look at the economic impact of how much it would cost each individual American to deport what we're going to classify as illegal. And who knows, the parameters behind that. How are you going to be classified illegal? Anyhow, along with that, another genius idea that he has is doing a tariff on anything that's not made in the USA, comes into the USA to be consumed by an American consumer. And so let's also check out the economic impact of that, from a college professor standpoint.
How would Donald Trump replace income taxes with tariffs? Former President Donald Trump has proposed an intriguing idea, replacing the federal income tax with tariffs. Here's a breakdown of how this concept works and the challenges it faces. Trump suggests using revenue from new higher tariffs to offset the loss of income tax revenue. To put this into perspective, the federal income tax currently generates about $3 trillion annually. Tariff rates and revenue. To replace the $3 trillion in income tax revenue, Trump would need to implement significantly high tariffs. For example, an across-the-board tariff hike of 69.9% on the $3.1 trillion worth of goods imported in 2023 could theoretically match the income tax revenue. However, this calculation is overly simplistic. Non-compliance and behavioral responses. The actual revenue generated from such tariffs would be much lower due to non-compliance and changes in consumer behavior. Assuming a 15% non-compliance rate, the revenue would drop to about $1.8 trillion. Additionally, if consumers respond to higher prices by reducing imports, the revenue could plummet further to around $560 billion. Specific tariff proposals. Trump has floated several specific tariff ideas, including a 10% universal tariff on all imported goods, a 60% tariff on Chinese-made imports, and even a 200% tariff on electric vehicles. These proposals are contentious and would likely invite foreign retaliation, harming American businesses and consumers. Economic impact. Higher tariffs would increase costs for American companies, reduce their competitiveness abroad, and lead to higher prices for consumers. This could distort economic decisions and redistribute income from consumers to protected industries, ultimately harming the economy as a whole. Historical context. Historically, tariffs were a significant source of federal revenue, especially before the introduction of the modern income tax in 1913. However, since World War II, tariffs have contributed only about 1 to 2% of total federal revenue. Returning to a tariff-only revenue system would be a drastic shift in economic policy. Practical challenges. Implementing such a system is practically challenging. The entire value of goods imported each year is about $3 trillion, but the tariffs themselves would not yield enough revenue to replace the lost income tax revenue. The math simply does not add up to fill the $3 trillion revenue gap. Other tax proposals. Alongside tariffs, Trump has proposed other tax changes, such as eliminating taxes on tipped income, lowering the corporate tax rate, and exempting Social Security income from taxation. However, these proposals also face criticism for lacking coherence and potentially harming economic growth. In summary, while Trump's idea of replacing income taxes with tariffs is ambitious, it faces significant practical and economic hurdles that make it unlikely to succeed.
Interesting. So eliminate income tax, and you're going to do it in tariffs, which would raise, I mean, what it's talking about, imports from China, 200%, my God. Think what you'd be trying, that's insane. And yeah, of course that's going to get passed along to the consumer. And so they're, you know, even though he could make up this $3.1 trillion, maybe in the first year, and then you're going to see a decline in people wanting to do anything with anything imported. Why would I buy anything imported when it's costing me an arm and a leg? Excuse me. And then, no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime. And how are you going to support some of these other systems within the government? You know, you still got, you know, a whole lot of government left that you need to support, which is dependent upon income taxes to support the operation of the government. And, you know, what are you going to cut next? Social Security tax? I'll save you some money. We'll just cut Social Security tax. Now, what's going to happen to that? I mean, what's the long-term plan here? We still have a federal deficit. I haven't heard him address that whatsoever. I'm going to cut this, cut that, cut this, cut that. And how is that going to, again, benefit the federal deficit, which is another one of our big issues? I don't know. I just don't know. Anyhow, speaking of big issues, Walmart had a big issue. Let me get to that clip. It seems that they had a software glitch in their scans, you know, their self-checkout scans. And some people were taking advantage of this glitch and getting themselves a little extra spending cash. But obviously they got videoed, so, you know, they got them on tape. Kind of like the same thing that happened, I think we covered that about a month ago maybe, with the Chase Bank ATMs, where people were taking out cash. And, there were 4 people, I looked that up too. There was 4 people that they're going after in that Chase Bank incident where they were taking money out of, depositing a check and then taking it out even though it was maybe a bad check, whatever the case may be. Check kiting back and forth. $662,000 Chase is going after 4 different individuals who were involved in the chase into things. But in any regard, back to the Walmart. Walmart had a glitch too at their self-checkout, and there were people that were had heard about it on social media and decided to go try to take advantage of it.
A man is wanted by police in Georgia, accused of using a hack that he saw on social media to steal from self-checkout machines.
Police say that the man tricked the machines into giving him extra cash. Fox's Doug Evans has the details.
Here's Walmart surveillance video of the suspect Noonan police are trying to identify. Investigators say he and others apparently learned a trick on social media that has cost Walmart stores nationwide millions of dollars before it got fixed, and it is fixed. But Noonan police say this guy got away with thousands of dollars from Walmart stores in Noonan, Peachtree City, and Fayetteville.
And there's a vulnerability with the point-of-sale machines that he was able to exploit and get basically double his money. He would do a transaction that was canceled about halfway through, and by the end of it, the point-of-sale machine would give him double his money back, and he would leave.
Posted information on how to trick the Walmart checkout machines into giving cash back on certain types of purchases. Police say in South Metro Atlanta, this guy apparently was not the only one observed doing it.
He's driving a white BMW. We suspect it's a 7 Series. It's got a temp tag on it, like the standard Georgia temp tag, but it's almost like it's in a sheet protector where there's a film over it that we can't read it.
Yeah, but they'll catch up with his ass, just like they did those guys that did the Chase Bank shit. Yeah, you can, hey, you might think you're getting away with it, but they're going to end up catching up with you. And I mean, same thing that they're still catching up with these guys who took that COVID relief money, came up with a fake business and fake employees and was getting COVID relief money. Yeah, well, the government hasn't forgotten about you either. They're still going to come after you. Government never forgets about their money. Other people might, but the government will never forget about their money. That's the only place I know that will never forgive a debt. Banks, you can always you can declare bankruptcy, but the government doesn't let you play that. Anyhow, hey, speaking of don't let you play that, recently a veteran got treated like crap on a Delta flight. And in fact, the way that the Delta people treated this particular vet qualifies for, dude, really? What the fuck?
This is the shirt that Catherine Banks says got her removed from her Delta flight on Wednesday. It reads, quote, "Do not give in to the war within, end veteran suicide." Passengers had boarded, and she was sitting in her extra legroom seat when a flight attendant approached her.
A male flight attendant was saying, "Ma'am, ma'am." And I was looking around like, who's he talking to? And it was me. And he said, "You need to get off the plane." And I was like, what did I do?
Catherine says it wasn't until she got off the plane and onto the jet bridge that he told her why.
He said, "That shirt you're wearing is threatening." I said, "Are you kidding me? I'm a Marine Corps vet. I'm going to go see my Marine sister who's survived 22 years in the Marine Corps, right? And 15 years working for the Air Force. And I'm going to visit her." And he said, "I don't care about your service, and I don't care about her service. That shirt you're wearing, the only way you're going to get back on the plane if you take it off right now."
But she wasn't wearing a bra.
I turned around, and so he couldn't see the front of me, and took the shirt off and put the sweatshirt on. It was giving me anxiety. I'm sorry.
She tells us she was allowed back on the plane, but not allowed to sit in the extra legroom seat she paid extra for. Instead, she was told to sit in the back of the plane. The flight was delayed, and she missed her connecting flight. On its website, Delta's contract of carriage says it may remove passengers from the aircraft, quote, "when the passenger's conduct, attire, hygiene, or odor creates an unreasonable risk of offense or annoyance to other passengers."
What the hell is that kind of a statement supposed to mean? I don't like the way you look. I don't like the way you smell. If you annoy other passengers, I can have you ejected from the plane. Or look what they did to her. They gave her the Rosa Parks bullshit, right? Go sit at the back of the plane. She should have sat down in the original seat that she paid for and said, screw you. This is the seat I paid for, and there's nothing wrong with it. In the war within, end veteran suicide. And what's wrong with that? It's sad what's happening in America sometimes, what we consider offensive. And the latitude especially given to like that Delta employee to sit there and construe that shirt as offensive for some reason. I don't know. Anyhow, hey man, let's get on to another good part of the show, and that is our asshole of the week. And I actually have two candidates this week, and first one is a slight confrontation between a bicyclist and a motorist.
It's the cyclist versus the driver.
I'm calling the police and you're not leaving. You're not leaving.
It started when 22-year-old Pierce Kempton passed the cyclist on his way to a skate park in Utah.
Did you see me?
Pulled off to the side, I did. I have it on dash cam.
The confrontation escalates when the young man tries to get out of his car and the cyclist blocks him.
Bro's got his hands on me and stuff. Yeah. Look at this dude. What are you doing? Why are you so cranky?
Then the cyclist, identified as 73-year-old Gary Peacock, calls the police.
Yeah, I've got a very aggressive teenager here that almost hit me in the car, and now he won't give me his last name, and now he's trying to leave. He's recording me because he's a jerk.
In newly released police body cam video, the officer finds both men at fault. And when the cyclist realized he's about to be issued a citation, he tries to apologize, but it's too late.
You were the one causing the stir here.
What if I apologize?
It's too late. I've already seen the evidence. I am obligated.
Oh, come on, man.
Pierce Kempton still can't believe what happened.
The tables were certainly turned on him, were they not?
No, they were. And that's where I felt justified.
I'm calling the police and you're not leaving. You're not leaving.
The young car driver received a citation for passing too closely to a bicycle, but that was dropped. The older cyclist still has a citation for disorderly conduct. He ended up apologizing.
Jerk off. Yeah, well, there's, at least the young guy got some vindication because, passing too close to a bicyclist. I don't know what was that at? That must have been I'm not sure. I didn't even catch that. Should have re-listened to the tape so I know what the hell state that was in. We, in Ohio, we don't have some passing too close to a bicyclist law. I think we just commonly know that, common sense tells you give way a little bit for a bicyclist alongside the road. What the hell, you got to have a law for it, really? Anyhow, yeah, that guy got what he deserved. And hey, speaking of up here in Ohio, and speaking especially like up here in Toledo, Ohio, we've had a few of these assholes of the week, and here's another one that made the grade. Check it out. Our final asshole of this week.
Caught on camera in Toledo. Look at this. A Halloween display destroyed. The video from neighbors shows this woman causing an estimated $1,000 in damages.
Unbelievable. This all happening around 10 a.m. yesterday, and many are wondering why. Reporter Tony Geftos has a look at that video and the suspect who is facing criminal charges.
Throwing, tripping, trashing a Halloween display. Video from multiple neighbors shows a woman hitting and tearing down the haunted setup in front of a home.
They said that somebody was in our yard and destroying all of our decorations.
It happened Monday, October 7th, starting at about 9 in the morning. Witnesses report the rampage continued for more than half an hour.
I don't know what it was. There's speculations, but I hope she gets the treatment that she needed.
Shannon and Bill Zeller live on the 5500 block of Suter Avenue in the Point Place Shoreland neighborhood of Toledo. They estimate the woman caused about $1,000 in damages.
Some of it we can't put a dollar amount on because we made it.
Other items, Shannon says, were priceless.
I cried like a baby, and I felt bad over some of the memories that are attached to some of the items that she broke, and You know, we have handmade stuff that we made with our children, and unfortunately, we lost our son in a motorcycle accident November 3rd, and there's a lot of memories here.
Toledo police arrested Christina Horvath, who's from Toledo and 48 years old. She was booked into the Lucas County Jail 2 weeks prior for allegedly throwing a rock through the windshield of a vehicle. Now she's facing additional charges of criminal damaging and theft. As for the display, the Zellers are working with what's left.
And I said, well, what can I do to just leave it as it is and make it fun and kind of make light of it? And I hope everybody else can just see we were making light of a sad situation.
A sad situation caused by a woman the Zellers say they had never met until she did this.
That'd trip you out, man. You go, look out your front door and somebody's out there just destroying your shit, throwing it all over the place. Just, wow. And obviously, you know, she had some mental issues, right? I mean, this girl, what'd they say? She had thrown a rock through a windshield like a week before. And there again, hey, there's another, maybe we'll get into that next week, about, you know, why they let insane people immediately out of jail and run for president. But in any regard, why they let some of these insane people who should be in mental institutes and put them back out on the streets instead of giving them the help that they truly need. But hey, again, that's another show, folks. But in any regard, hey, I thank you so very much for dropping by and spending this Wednesday with me. And again, you only got a few days to get out there and make a difference by casting your vote. Whoever it's for, just get out there and exercise, you know, your civil liberties, your rights. This is something that's granted to you and you have the ability to do. So exercise that right. Get out there and get her done, folks. And until next week, hey, enjoy, and we'll get out of here with a little video, and enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and peace out, man.
Fellas, we gotta talk. A lot of men seem to think that Donald Trump is some kind of tough guy. He's not. I mean, look at him. He wears more makeup than Dolly Parton. He whines like a baby. The guy's afraid of birds. Donald Trump had his daddy pay a doctor to say his little feet hurt so he could dodge the draft. Look at that gut. Like a garbage bag full of buttermilk. He sells imaginary baseball cards pretending to be a cowboy fireman. Guy's barely strong enough to hold an umbrella. I mean, look how he drinks water. Like a little pink chickadee. He's got jugs, big ones, like Dolly Parton. He cheats at golf. He creeps around beauty pageant dressing rooms. You know that little dance he does? He looks like he's jacking off a pair of giraffes. He's moody, he pouts, he throws tantrums.
No, get those lights off!
He acts like a 5-year-old behind the wheel of a truck. He bends over for Putin. He's cattier on social media than a middle school mean girl. The guy needs help walking downhill. Almost there, Grandma. So this November, let's stop kidding ourselves. Donald Trump is afraid of rain, of dogs, of windmills, Merle Streep, and being laughed at.
Isn't it past your jail time?
But mostly, he's terrified that real red-blooded American men will find out that he's a weak, tubby toddler.
Mommy, take me home, Mommy. I want to go home.
What's wrong, tough guy? Did someone grab you by the Why, you bitch.
Looking for it by guys who can still see the room.